Hi, I'm Cameron Van Weingarten, the manager for Plainfield Township, and I'm here today to talk about our Reimagine Plainfield project. So since 2019, we've been working to collect community input on what residents would like to see on Plainfield Avenue. And in doing so, we heard a lot of residents talk about the aesthetics of the highway, the way it functions from a safety perspective. And so we've really worked to improve these elements and to make it a more pleasant corridor and one that really attracts businesses to our area. So we also learned that MDOT, which controls Plainfield Avenue as a state highway, was planning to resurface this road in 2025, so coming up pretty soon on their calendar. And we took this opportunity to work with them to talk about how can we make some of these improvements that our residents want to see on the Plainfield corridor. And so we've been meeting with them for the better part of the past year to talk about how we can incorporate some elements that will enhance safety, enhance the beauty of the corridor into their project. MDOT has about a $7 million budget to resurface the road. As far as they're concerned, that's their project. Plainfield Township is coming and matching some of their dollars with about $2 million of our own to make some enhancements to make it a more attractive and a more desirable place for businesses. As we do that, we really look at what are some of the elements of the highway that we're trying to improve. And while this isn't Plainfield, this is kind of an example of what we might be able to do on Plainfield Avenue. We have a corridor here that's very similar to Plainfield. You've got 5 lanes of traffic, you've got a turn lane running the entire length of the road in the middle, and you've got a lot of signage and utility poles on the outside. And that's another thing that we heard a lot from residents. They really want to see less utility poles, more green. And so you look at what it could be. You've got a lot more pleasant aesthetics, a lot more greening. We heard from a lot of residents that they'd like to see more landscaping, less utility poles, less concrete and asphalt. And so something like this that's been done in another community, we think can be replicated here as well, where we add a lot more landscaping elements on the side and also in the median of the road. And so we've worked with MDOT to identify areas that would make sense for medians to be incorporated into the Plainfield corridor. As we look at landscaping options for the Plainfield corridor, we have to work very closely with the requirements that MDOT has put in place. MDOT has a lot of experience with Michigan roads, obviously, but the types of plants that are tolerant to a roadside environment. So there's things like salt tolerance. Right now we're putting a lot of salt on roads to keep them safe in the winter weather. The type of outgrowth from a plant, we don't need it growing into the roadway. We don't want it blocking visibility. And also height restrictions when you're working underneath utility lines. So we work closely with MDOT. We have our partners at Progressive AE, have landscape architects that are experienced in working with these types of situations and determine what types of plantings might be most appropriate in the road right-of-way, either outside the roadway between the curb and the businesses, or in a median in between the lanes of traffic. And so we'll work closely to find plant species that are most appropriate, that are hardy, that are salt tolerant, right for our climate, right for our environment, right for that space that's available. And then after we put this in, we need to keep it up. And so that's part of the plan from the first stages as well, to make sure that we have a maintenance plan in place so that when we put in beautiful, attractive landscaping, it stays beautiful and attractive throughout the longevity of this project.
Hi, I'm Matthew Bulkins. I'm a transportation engineer with Progressive AE and helping to work on the Reimagine Plainfield implementation project. One of the goals of the project is to improve safety for all road users along the corridor. To first get a better picture of safety trends over time, we have looked at crash data along the Plainfield corridor. We have found that there are several types of crashes as well as several types of severe crashes. And one key component that is oftentimes a factor in these severe crashes is high vehicle speeds. So one part of these improvements that we're trying to make is to lower vehicle speeds to better align with the existing speed limit. We've also compared crash history on Plainfield to similar roads in the Grand Rapids area, such as 28th Street or Alpine Avenue, as well as other roads with the similar characteristics to the improvements that will be made along the Plainfield corridor, such as 44th Avenue, which has medians and landscaping and that type of thing. We've also looked at crash rates on US 31, which is a very busy highway that feels unsafe to a lot of people, and found that Plainfield Avenue has higher crash rates, which is a way of analysis that also accounts for traffic volumes and the length of the corridor. It found that Plainfield Avenue has these higher crash rates when compared to 44th Street as well as US 31. So we do see a history of safety issues along the corridor, and part of these improvements are looking to alleviate some of those concerns. Say one key component of our safety analysis for the Plainfield corridor is the incorporation of what's called the Safe System approach. This is a federal program that's designed to help increase safety for all road users on all roadways nationwide. It is a national standard. And two key pieces of the Safe System approach are designing roads to be safer for all road users, whether that's a driver, a pedestrian, or a cyclist, as well as reducing vehicle speeds to a safe level. And so as part of this analysis, we also identified crash locations along the corridor, as well as the locations of significant injuries, whether that was a severe or unfortunately a fatal injury. In the past 5 years, there have been 10 severe crashes along the corridor and 4 fatal injuries. And so part of these improvements are intended to alleviate the causes behind these significant crashes. And all that is tied back to reducing vehicle speeds and then designing safer roads to reduce conflict between all road users.